Oh, hello there. You must be the interviewer conducting the interview with Lord Cyrus. Please, come in. Yes, Lord Cyrus is in his study. He's been preparing most of the morning to conduct this interview. I feel I do have to stress, however, that Master Cyrus is, You need to realize what an unusual opportunity this is for you. He has never, to my knowledge, or at least in the time that I have worked as his butler, conducted an interview this intimate. Well, I mean, particularly things about his lifestyle, things about his personal life. He's never conducted an interview of this nature. Is there anything you should know? Perhaps try and avoid subjects where the subject of blood is an obvious question. Maybe not be so direct about his consummation of blood or anything of that nature. But apart from that, Master Cyrus is a very civilized elder vampire. And, well, he told me that he used to have servants in the past where he was less tolerant of their failures, but he's learned a lot, as I'm sure you will experience in this interview. Master Cyrus is in his study here. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to ring. Master Cyrus, the young lady conducting your interview is here. Perfect. Show her in, William. Certainly, sir. This way, please. Now, can I offer you any refreshment? Any tea, any coffee, or perhaps wine? Very good. And for yourself, Master Cyrus? That'll be all, thank you, William. You may take your leave now. I wish to be undisturbed. Very good, sir. Well, you certainly weren't what I was expecting. What exactly was I expecting? That's perhaps more of a complicated question than I think you realize. Despite what William has told you, I have conducted interviews of this intimate nature before. The articles were written, published, and within a few short years, forgotten. So perhaps I see in your eyes the fact that you wish to actually partake in spreading this information far and wide, so that perhaps the interest in my life story will go a little further than it has done in the past. More than you could possibly imagine, my dear. More than you could possibly imagine. I conducted an interview of this nature in 1866, 1933, and 1980. And now I am having another one here. William only started working for me around 5 years ago. Yes, of course. We should begin. You are perfectly correct. Are you sure I cannot give William your order? We have a wide variety of spirits, wine, alcohol of any nature. And of course, if you do not drink tea, coffee, I myself was particularly fond of a coffee blend when I was, well, and when was that? I fear, my dear, that you're getting a little ahead of yourself. Shouldn't you start with your questions before we go off on a deviation? Certainly. A very simple question. My name is Victor Cyrus, though I have gone by many names in the past, for not only legal reasons, but it just simply makes the whole transition easier. You see, the authorities tend to look rather scrupulously at a man who claims that he was born in 1885 and has, well, the look of someone in his mid-30s. When was I born? I was born in a small settlement which would later be called Judea in 10 AD. Yes, a very long time ago. Judea was a very different land than it is now, as I'm sure you would attest, given the recent history. What was life like back then? How best to describe it? Imagine being born in your childhood home, only to find when you return, years later, not only is your home different, but every conceivable detail about it has changed. The trees, the land, even the color, the smell. And yet, you know in your heart, you stood exactly where you stood all those years past. And you get maybe an eighth of the picture that I experienced. What I mean is, the language dialect that I spoke natively no longer exists. The houses, the buildings, the very land itself no longer exists. I can scarcely call it, as you say, home anymore. I've had a great many homes in the past 2,000 years. No, I am not the oldest vampire. I have met maybe 2 others older than myself. Well, one of them was the great Aristotle. Well, he goes by a different name now, which I am not prepared to reveal over an intimate interview of this nature. The other was born during the time of Moses, very long time ago now, who was persecuted and crossed the Red Sea. The truth is, I do not know. I was not born during that time, and given that most vampires are made instead of being born, which incidentally implies that they were human once, they still have an element of their human nature left, which means that they are prone to lie. But I make a promise to you here, right now, my dear, that I have no intention of lying to someone as beautiful as you. As you wish. My father was a mender of shoes, sandals, a basic nature of that sort. He taught me some of what I would later imply in my own life. However, I got bored, and I tried to join the local garrison. Oh yes, the Brahmins. Latin was very difficult, but it took me some time to master the language. Yes, I could. I could heft a sword by the time I was 18, and yet, when that fellow you might know as Jesus walked with his cross, battered and bloodied as he was, my father was the one that the Romans ordered to help him with the cross. But I remember his face very vividly. And there was indeed some sort of glow about him. I can't quite put it into words. I think you would understand. It was like an otherworldly feeling when looking at this individual. I was only young, you understand. But the feeling was indeed there. And even after my father finished his job, he returned to me, and my father was forever changed after that experience. Something about his nature, I suppose. He was kinder, more understanding, more able to tolerate my mistakes as I was growing up. Now that is the question you really wanted to ask, was it not? When was I born into this? I moved away and traveled north to a place called Tarsus. It was there that I met a Samaritan who took me into the mountains to find a special plant. You see, I did not know what I wished to do. All I knew was mending shoes and learning basic soldiery. I do not know why he wished me to accompany him. Perhaps it was because I thought he needed help. My own good nature I got from my father. Who knows? The details of it have been very difficult to recollect. But in that moment, while we were looking, we came upon a cave. Inside the cave were stalactites protruding in an ominous formation from the ceiling. And not swayed by our ominous dread that we felt, we ventured in. Only one of us emerged, forever changed. What was in the cave, you ask? Inside the cave was a creature that I had never seen before. A monstrous humanoid beast. Dripping teeth, long ears, deprived of anything resembling what you and I would consider a human being. It tore the throat out of my unfortunate Samaritan companion and bit me smartly on my neck. I, of course, thought in that moment that I would perish as well. But I managed to throw it off long enough to escape the cave, and the moment it tried to pursue me, it lost its footing and plummeted into the sunlight. It then burned, as if a great pyre had been lit beneath it. It was a sight I will never forget, even after these thousands of years. And when did I start noticing change? It's a very astute question, I suppose. Within 24 hours, I was ravenous, consuming anything that was in sight: bread, meat, wine, water, anything to quench this thirst. But nothing would suffice, and I brought it all back up again. I could not understand what was happening. My eyes could not stand the sunlight. It was pain, unlike any I had ever felt. An inward pain that I could not even fathom at that time. And subsequently, it's a pain that I have never felt since. Eventually, well, I of course know full well what I was going through at that time now, but you need to understand that the fear of what I was, or what I was becoming, was unknown to me back then, my dear. Fear. Such fear. I knew as I took my first victim and felt the blood pass down my throat, and finally felt the sense of satisfaction at finally being able to quench this untenable hunger within me. I knew that I was not a creature of light anymore. I'm reminded of a passage in the Bible, that those who consume my flesh and drink of my blood will receive eternal life. Oh, my dear, all manner of different thoughts were passing through my mind at that moment. All manner of thoughts. I still at that time did not know what I was. So I ran. I became a folklore, a monster. I could not even attend my father's own funeral, as it was held in the sunlight. But the longer I realized that I was this beast, and the more I consumed blood and did not age, I knew that I had to do something. Research, the ability to read anything. Eventually, I passed through the land which would later be called Turkey, and passed into Constantinople. Without a doubt, the most beautiful city to date I have ever seen. Oh, you should have seen it back then, my dear. Constantinople. A beacon of light. The greatest city. Connecting the old world of East with the new worlds of West. By happenstance, at night, I happened across a scholar. It would later, as I am told, be the great Aristotle. But he was, by that time, you understand, what I was. He became my mentor, instructing me in the ways of what exactly he thought in his own scriptural education we were. He said that all his life he had been surrounded by philosophical, scientific endeavors, and yet this curse or gift, depending on how you looked at it, was the greatest mystery he had ever received. Why? It gave him the ability to pursue education to the fullest capacity. Imagine being a scholarly soul and not having time as a hindrance. We did not fully understand the word vampire until the Renaissance. So in all that time, we thought we were just monsters. Creatures who inhabited the souls of fallen angels. This man gave me everything. An education, the ability to read ancient Greek, the ability to question and learn about the world around me, learn about what I was as well. He deserved better than what happened to him. A mob traced him. I think someone who he taught at a very young age recognized that he himself had not aged. And as in those days, God himself could only grant eternal life, they believed that he'd made a deal with devils to keep his youth. In later years, he would be known as forced. But that really wasn't. Or perhaps it was. Now that I think about it, perhaps that essentially was the deal that we made. Even to this day, I still have no idea, to the fullest, what exactly we are. My accent. My dear, do you honestly think, after all this time, that I would have a dialect or an accent of my original homeland? A homeland which I have told you no longer exists. Do you think I still would have an accent of a dialect of an extinct language? No. I took a leaf out of his book and began to donate most of my time to scholarly pursuits, learning about the world, learning about more and more the limitations of my powers, the limitations of my healing, my aging, my constant renewal after each and every feed. I had learned the hard way that it was not advantageous to me or any others of my kind to kill my victims. It brought far too much unnecessary attention, not just to myself, as I say, but to any potential vampires that were in the area. We kept ourselves mainly to ourselves. You understand? Vampires do most certainly form large families, covens, and clans. I myself started a clan shortly after the Renaissance. In those days, I called myself Alexios Corenia, and I formed the very first Corenia clan right in the heart of Constantinople. Originally, the idea behind it was to donate all of my time to my scholarly studies and, well, potentially share this knowledge with any others that I had created, sired, or perhaps even found as strays along the way. All of these lessons learned the hard way. I could talk to you forever about the waifs and strays that I picked up along the way, unsure as I was who exactly or what exactly they were. I taught them as best I knew about our abilities, about our ability to live and sustain ourselves upon human blood. The fall Yes, you've done your research. Indeed, you are right. I stayed in Constantinople for many, many years. Centuries, in fact. It was just such a beautiful city, donated so much to scholarly pursuit and world knowledge. I'll tell you exactly what happened. You said it yourself. The fall. The complete collapse of the Byzantine Empire happened. The fall of Constantinople. That was a terrible time. The Muslims who invaded seemed to have intimate knowledge of our kind as well. They took particular pleasure in dispatching my kind with such precision that it was impossible for there to not be any prior knowledge. And to this day I still blame myself. I still blame myself, perhaps. Perhaps if I'd hidden our existence a little better. Perhaps there was a traitor, a Judas, if you will, who gave them the knowledge of our weaknesses. It was too much of a precise attack. But in any case, the Corenia clan, which lasted a few centuries, died that day. Where did I go after that? I journeyed north. Directly north, actually. Through Bulgaria, through parts of Romania. And there I met a chap that history would know very well. The Impaler. To this day, the most sadistic human being I had ever met. You need to understand that he had a very exclusive childhood. The Turks, you see, did things. They used to take Vlach-born children into the army, train them as officers to be used against any unsuspecting and rebellious European countries that they had conquered. And the things they did to break their spirit. No human being should ever go through that. But Vlad, the Impaler, did. And he did not, or at least his childhood did not survive. When the training had finished, he was a different man when he finally completed his training. Something about him had changed. For a time, I stayed in his court once he became one of the protectorate princes of Wallachia. I stayed in his court for as long as I could, offering him knowledge of my condition. And in a moment of weakness, I gave the same gift to him again. A very deep regret. Yes, I am the causality behind people thinking that Vlad the Impaler was a vampire. It's because he was. He was not the original, but he was the most dangerous. He became even worse when he was given this dark gift, more sadistic, more power-hungry, more blood-lustful. It was pure evil incarnate which drove his spirit forward, my dear. It was not a thing of beauty, not like you. It was as far opposite to you as it could possibly be. It was the pure malevolence of humanity I saw in the Impaler's eyes. I fled, knowing the repercussions that would inevitably come my way one day. In the dead of night, I took to the skies, and I never saw the Impaler again. I do not even know if he goes by another name today. Or perhaps he met his match. I do not know. I decided not to stay in one place for too long after that, in answer to your question. I journeyed west. I had done with the East, spending all of my adult life there and most of my immortal one. I wanted to see what the Western world had to offer, and I was not disappointed. I journeyed through the Germanic kingdoms, into France, and into Hispania. But I noticed the more I journeyed west, the less and less of my kind I seemed to encounter. And in the mid-19th century, I found out why. Knowledge of our kind had been brutally discovered and woken up to. Folklore about my kind was spreading like wildfire. It was disastrous. Clans of vampires completely destroyed forever. I knew I had to tread a very fine line in my existence. So I decided to retreat to the only place, I think, where they respected a man of intellectual capacity. Oxford. A very kind teacher named Aidan taught me to speak English. It did not take very long for me to adapt to this language, seeing as how I had made language learning a compulsory in my own educational schedule. As English goes, compared with the likes of Latin and ancient Greek, as well as Norse, English was relatively simple. And by the time I could speak it, I stayed in Oxford, learning to refine my language to the point where I could articulate my knowledge. It seems I did so in the nick of time, as the Industrial Revolution in London took place. I'm glad to see that the British did indeed take my lessons to heart, that they became the single biggest empire in history. I don't want to take full credit, of course. There were some very, very enlightened humans that took the innovation themselves, and I found a morbid delight in feeding from them. It was as though, poetically, their knowledge was passing into me, and I absorbed the very essence of their intelligence as I fed. Well, things stayed relatively as they were. I enjoyed living in England, and when eventually the First World War rolled around, I wanted to test my combat prowess, as I had donated many centuries to scholarly learning. I wanted to see what my full capacity for combat was. So, I enlisted, and I led many successful charges over the top of the trenches. I developed a bit of a nickname. They called me Bloody Jack. Because it didn't seem to matter how many battles trials I went through. I never seemed to die. I was wondering when that question would come up. What happened to my eye? A German vampire was on the other side, and she was magnificent. She posed as a singer in the trenches, as a bit of a morale booster to the German soldiers. But that isn't all she was. When the Germans went over the top, she had the same idea I did. She evidently pursued the same enlightened state that I received staying in Oxford than she did in Germany. She would go over the top with the soldiers, and there wasn't many witnesses to the contrary, you understand? Because soldiers seldom had a very long lifespan as they charged over the top. There were not many witnesses after she went over herself. And when I discovered that I could not kill her as easily as I thought, one thing led to another, and she plunged a bayonet deep into my eye socket. Never in my life had I experienced such excruciating pain, even more so than when I was torn apart by hunger when I first became this. Such pain. I thought at first that it would heal like all the others, but little did I know that she had anticipated to fight other vampires. She had dipped her bayonet into holy water. Never again could I see out of that eye. How did you know? It seems that you are a lot more than you seem to be, my dear. Beautiful and intelligent. I did indeed start a romantic relationship with her. It was after the war, you understand. And a decade or so after the war, we met up again. She recognized me from my eye, of course. And we enjoyed the roaring 20s together. It's a very romantic time, despite the depression. But we had accumulated between us enough wealth to enjoy ourselves. Ah, the 20s. Never in my entire existence have I ever enjoyed such want and indulgence in my life. Feeding was a lot more easy as well, and even their blood tasted different. Something about a drunkard's blood causes, I'm not sure you would understand, their blood to become tainted with the alcohol. So in a way, we got drunk on their drunkenness. No, she was not the first. I had taken many lovers and fathered many children. Many children. But I cannot tell you how depressing it is to watch an entire branch of your family go extinct. I'd rather not talk about that. It's a rather tender subject. Thank you. I appreciate your understanding. What happened to her? We fell out. We had been courting for over 33 years, and when the Second World War came around, something changed in her. The enlightenment that she felt, as I did staying in London, staying in Oxford, was the same pull she felt staying in Koblenz. She changed after the Second World War. When the ideology shifted, as it did, she found herself conflicted, more irritable, until eventually one morning, she was gone. I never saw her again. And what difference, may I ask, would it make if I told you her name? How many times do you think I've changed mine over the years? In those days, she called herself Maria. But given how much time has passed, I would not be surprised if she has a new name now. I do not expect to see Maria again. No, I don't believe it is confusing. Perhaps for a human. But names among vampires, I think they don't mean what you think they mean to us. Names of things do not describe what they are. Names to us are fleeting. They're too human. I told you you would not understand. Perhaps you should move on to your next question. I simply returned to Oxford, continued my scholarly pursuits, and made notes of my combat prowess and my tolerance for indulgences. Human indulgences, you understand. The scholarly circles that I surrounded myself by, as I say, made pretty easy prey for blood as well. By the time the 21st century arrived, I had accumulated a fair amount of wealth, so I bought this place in the heart of New England. Well, because I'd never been to America up until that point. I was aware of it going on, about your struggle for independence, but compared to my scholarly work, my knowledge about who we were, the wars of men did not excite me as they once did. Well, you say that, my dear, but I have been around a very, very long time. I have seen many wars, and I have seen enough of them to know that they are all the same. Blood is shed for only half a dozen reasons. For land, for wealth, for faith. And at the end of it, there is only death. The only war that really took my active participation in was the first, as I say. Because I knew that if the Germans had won the First World War, my scholarly pursuits would be interrupted. And as I say, I wanted to test the combat prowess to its fullest capacity. which I did. I learned a lot about my physical prowess. I have learned that I can heal from often fatal wounds to humans. No, my dear, there is nothing more I can tell you. Yes, I know. The only thing I can say to you, my dear, is that I have lived a very long time. I have seen things you would not even believe if I was to tell you. Well, then you're a fool. I'm saying you should use your own initiative. You should not just take my word for it. I have conducted many interviews of this stage. What makes you think that you are any different? It seems that you are even doubting whether I am what I say I am, aren't you? Well, if truth is what you seek, then truth is what you will receive. Because this is the truth, my dear. I am ravenous, and I have done nothing but smell your blood. Oh, as I sat listening to your mewling, childish questions. Oh, it is the scent of an intellectual, someone who thinks outside the norm, someone with ideas, someone who seeks the truth. And I've always had a weakness for that kind of blood. So, but... Forgive me. I am not a monster. I will ask you, will you share your blood with me? No. Very well. Let us barter for it, then. If you will not give it freely, I will barter you for it. Yes. Trade for your blood. An astute question. Whatever you are willing to trade. Information, perhaps. Any historical figures that I might have met. Any childish questions like that. And there it is. That is the question I was waiting for. The meaning of life. Not what did Napoleon say at the Battle of Waterloo? What was Alfred the Great like? All those... What does Renaissance Venetian food taste like? That was all child's play. That question is what I was waiting for. The meaning of life. If I tell you my answer to the meaning of life, will you share your blood in exchange? Deal. Well, you might want to write this down. The meaning of life, my dear, is to pass on. No. That's what they want you to say. You are too confined by what your editors are telling you to say. Think for yourself. What do you think I mean? To pass on knowledge, my dear. To pass on your genes. To pass on your experiences. To pass on your knowledge of life itself. And then eventually to pass on into the next world, or whatever world comes after this. And that is what my kind have been denied. We cannot fully attain the meaning of life as these half-dark creatures that we are. That is the biggest curse. We exist as husks, as leeches, to absorb life given divinely to humans, and are denied the ability to let go. That is true. I could have ended it. Many times I wished I could. But the truth is, my dear, I was afraid. Do you remember when I said about watching entire branches of your family go extinct? When you take a wife, you love her, you give her children, she grows old and you stay young. Your children grow old and they have children, and they grow old, and they have children, and they grow old and have no children, and they all die. You have no idea what that does to a man's mind. And if you are offering what I think you are, not just knowledge, not just the pursuit of knowledge, because I pride myself on being able to scent what is in someone's blood. The fact that you are here is not just to conduct an interview or to listen to my life story. There's something else. I can scent it. And the more you think about it, the more stronger the scent becomes. You know why you're here, don't you? And it was never to conduct an interview, was it? It is a desire to seek what ought not to be seeked, like a relationship. Oh, do not call me a liar. I smell it in your blood, and I see it in your eyes. You want me. You deny it, but with the greatest of respect to you, my lady, I do not believe you. Blood never lies. You want the same thing I did. All those centuries past. You want to pursue knowledge, truth, forever. Well, let me tell you, my dear, as someone who has had first-hand experience of living for knowledge forever, it never ends. Your pursuit of knowledge leads from one thing to another, and you discover it is a bottomless pit. The vein of knowledge never stops. Your curiosity will never be sated. Like one of my kind, indulging in the most delicious human food. Despite you consuming and consuming to your heart's content, you will find no satisfaction from it until you feel the warm, intimate flow of blood past your lips. Knowledge is the same thing. Truth and the pursuit thereof is the same. I see you looking into my eyes right now with a morbid curiosity. I don't have to hypnotize you, my dear. You're thirsty for knowledge and thirsty to taste what ought not to be tasted. But I must admit there is a part of me that is curious to see if you will be what I think you will. Come to my home once more, 2 midnights from now, and I will give you my full answer. Oh, don't worry, I have not forgotten that you willingly traded your blood for this knowledge of life. 2 midnights from now, and I promise it'll be a night you will never forget. Take care on your way home, my dear. Not all of my kind are as civil and well-mannered as myself. New England is full of low-life, newborn vampires. I'll have William show you the door. Good evening to you, my dear. And if we should never meet again, if you should let these 2 midnights go by, I will not seek retribution for my portion of blood that was promised. You will never see me again. That I promise you. You may look, but you will never seek. I've been playing this game for far too long, my dear. I'm very good at not being found. William? Yes, Master Cyrus. Our interview is concluded. Show her to the door. This way, please. Goodbye, my dear. Until we meet again.